Hello everyone, my name is Teddy Gerstein, and I'll be presenting on upgrading to high-speed rail and improvement to the Northeast Corridor and Amtrak. What I'll be going over today is basically an upgrade to Northeast Corridor, or the corridor that connects Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, New Haven, and Boston. And to start off, I'd like to go with a quick vision statement from Amtrak itself. It's moving America to where it wants to go. And as you can see here in the picture is all the main line across the country. As you can see, many cities are connected across the nation here. So what are the products and services of this high-speed rail? So with the current time on the Northeast Corridor, the average time between New York and Boston is about 3.75 to 4.25 hours, and the average time from New York to DC is about 2.5 hours. What an upgrade to the Northeast Corridor would be is to increase speeds past 150 miles an hour on different segments of track, which would actually shave off about 30 minutes in each direction. So we'd see New York to DC in about 2 hours and New York to Boston about 3.25. Moving on to the economic analysis. So what this project is really going to cost is about $117 billion over the next 15 years, with a goal to have the high-speed rail service by the year 2035. Now, the dollars would come from the federal government, both the Fed and the state, and it's crucial because it's crucial to invest here because of the high traffic volume and economic impact the Northeast Corridor has on the American economy. There's about 800,000 trips on the corridor per day, and that is more than all the airlines combined in the year 2019. So if any traffic was down on the Northeast Corridor, if it was just completely shut down for even a single day, about $100 million would be lost in economic activity. Moving on to the market analysis, the main competition between for Amtrak is going to be the highway and the airlines. I-95 runs parallel with the Northeast Corridor and is already very congested. It's estimated that by the year 2030, about 470 miles or 25 of the entire highway corridor will operate speeds less than 27 miles per hour during peak hours. And this is really detrimental because if we're moving that slow, we can't be getting to where we got to be going in an efficient time. Air travel is also slow due to the short distances along the Northeast Corridor. So additional travel time to and from the airport is most likely going to be inevitable, as well as any airline delays. It was estimated that $973 million was lost by passengers using airports along the Northeast Corridor just in delay costs alone. So as we can see here, there's a lot of pros for Amtrak to be in this corridor. The distances are typically less than 500 miles, which is what high-speed rail is usually good for. Amtrak can additionally serve about 20,000 customers per track per hour, which significantly outplays the airlines, which are only at 5,300, and highways at 3,100 per hour. As for the financial analysis, any break-even analysis could be done. It's actually a really simple calculation. We take our cost at $117 billion. We then divide it out by our average ticket price, which I found to be $25.25, assuming that the person getting this ticket is going coach and also gets their ticket 2 weeks in advance to when their departure date is. If we also look at the daily rise, as said before, there's 800,000. We find the break even to be about 15.87 years. Now, again, this could be reduced if we do take into account the more expensive ticket prices of coach and first class, and as well as if the person was not to take advantage of Amtrak's 2-week policy, which usually, if you get it before the 2 weeks, it's going to be a little more expensive. Moving on to the cash flow, we see here in the bar in the middle of the chart, the graph in the middle of the chart, or the screen, excuse me, we see that the New York City metro area is actually going to be the most expensive part of the entire project, which it significantly outweighs all other parts of the project. And if we look at the reasoning behind the money, where it's going really, in the chart on the right, we can see that construction in gray is going to be our predominant factor there, as well as the capital renewal, or just keeping the infrastructure at where it needs to be in in relation to the health and integrity of it as an overall project. Moving on to the management plan, we're looking to put about 10% in recruiting new talent. We want to get the top talent from the top universities and top companies around the world and around the nation. We also want to put about 15% into research and development, trying to find out where new projects could potentially occur, what might those projects be, and how we can get those on the ground. We also want to put about 15% towards advertising, so getting the word out, letting the customer base know that, hey, these are the products we're doing, these are the new services we're offering, and you could be a part of that. 30% will go to our current projects, making sure those get finished in a timely fashion, as well as making sure that they are safe and in the right place. 15 will also go to maintain the infrastructure. So going back to the safety, we want to make sure that these tracks and our things are safe to use. The cost of a life significantly outweighs any costs to the railroad itself. So we want to make sure that these infrastructures are safe and reliable for people to get on. We also want to put 10% towards accounting, as having a good book will help actually reduce our costs. If we can understand where the money is going and not going, we can move funds around to where they need to be. And finally, we're going to put 5% in the philanthropy bin. As a major company, corporation, we want to be giving back to the communities that we also serve. As for our organizational plan, here's a quick rundown of it. It's a very simplified one. We're already owned and operated primarily by the U.S. federal government. All of our stock is held by the Fed, and they also provide us with subsidies and grants to go towards our projects. Here's some of the key people who are in the organization. We have a CEO, William J. Flynn. He's responsible for the safety of all passengers, as well as leading Amtrak's overall strategy for current and future projects. Stephen Gardner here is also the president, leading Amtrak's day-to-day operations, kind of expands the customer base, and also responsible for modernizing Amtrak's infrastructure and fleet. And finally, we have the executive vice president and general counsel and corporate secretary, Eleanor D. Atkinson. She oversees personal injury and any property loss claims, as well as any work-related complaints. There's definitely some more people that we can go through, but just for the purpose of time, we're going to leave it at these three. Next, I'll get into the marketing plan. So we want to do a nationwide TV commercial program that will spread all over the nation and get out the word to as many people as possible. Slogans such as big cities, infinite stories, and see where the train can take you will really kind of hit home and hit on the point that this corridor has a lot of opportunity, and getting on the train to get you to your destination is going to be not only really efficient, but also is going to be fun too, and get you to where you need to be. We could also release ads on social media platforms to kind of attack more of the younger crowd, who are on Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, and Instagram. And we could also offer promotional or discounted trips for first-time users to really get them to understand what it's like to get on the train and get to your destination in record time. As for our operational plan, we'd like to break it down in 3 phases. Our first phase would be completing the Connecticut, Westchester, New England portion, as it is the cheapest, as stated before. And that way, kind of to get the public on board with what we're doing here, if we can complete this first and then get them to, sorry about the noise, but completing that phase first, so they can understand and see what's really out there, and get kind of a taste for this little small segment of it. In the next phase, we'd like to complete the Mid-Atlantic North and Mid-Atlantic South. And finally, in the third phase, complete the New York Metro. On the image on the right here, we can see some of the construction start dates for all the phases, and some of the cool ones that are in here. There's a lot of bridge expansions. A lot of these bridges are actually very old, 50 to 100 years old. So these will be very new and new bridges, new infrastructure, and it should be really beautiful in the skyline for a lot of these places. In terms of our measurements of success, we have passenger miles and passenger trips per year. We want to be documenting how many people are taking these trips, as well as how are they increasing or decreasing with time. If we see they increase with time, it shows that we're probably very successful and We can also see that if the passenger trips, or actually the passenger miles increases, it's kind of show that these people are traveling for longer distances. They're taking the train further. We can also measure the amount of CO2 saved. We can publish how Amtrak is reducing our carbon footprint. So essentially, um, getting out there and showing that getting on the train is more energy efficient, is better than flying or driving the car, can really give a person a more of a personal, they can feel more achieved in themselves that, hey, I'm doing the right thing here and I'm being responsible for my carbon footprint and I'm taking Amtrak. We could also measure safety as a success rate. We could take accident rates, fatality, injury rates, any near miss rates, and normalize them by a traffic. So if we took, let's say, 100 accidents and divided by our traffic of 100 miles, we would essentially have one accident per mile, which is not a good rate at all, but it would be just an idea of what we could do. And we want to get those rates to numbers that are extremely low to kind of have that Six Sigma of safety and kind of be right there on top with the safety that's in the airline industry itself. Some of the risk factors that we have are safety. High-speed trains can't stop quickly, so any obstacles such as pedestrians, cars, other trains should be completely avoided at all costs, meaning that we need to have a dedicated track without any grade crossings or crossings where the track and the road meet, where they have kind of an intersection. Because they travel at such high speeds, it could take upwards of a mile for trains to stop sometimes. So it's really important to have just dedicated tracks so there's no possibility of that ever occurring where they'll need to pull emergency brake or have a potential for a really bad accident to occur. Trespassers are also at a really high risk of death or injury, so any physical barriers to deter them from coming onto the tracks themselves will be really important in keeping those numbers very low. And again, I'll read it. Our main competitors will be the small regional rail, highways, and airlines. The small regional rail being beneficial for those small distances. Once you get to a city, the highways offer that opportunity to kind of go to and from where you currently are without having to travel to a local station, and the airline having that advantage on very, very long haul distances over 500 miles. However, Amtrak can kind of take all these and really pick apart the things that they don't do well, which is the small regional rail. They don't have the capacity, the length to go really far distances. The highways, you have to pay attention to the road. On Amtrak, you could just sit down there, relax, enjoy a coffee or a meal, even do some work. And as for the airlines, you got to deal with wait times and traveling to and from airports to the big city when the train itself will stop right there in the middle. And finally, our long-term plan is to continue to upgrade the Northeast Corridor to full high-speed capacity. We're looking to create over 700,000 jobs and generate around $60 billion in revenue. We also want to improve our service and decrease wait time by 50%. So the max wait time from Philadelphia to New York is currently about 20 to 30 minutes. We're looking to push that around 15. And finally, we're looking to reduce our carbon emissions, which we've already been continuing to do. Since 2010, we've reduced them by 20, and we want to reduce them by 40 by the end of 2030. And we can do this through less idling time, energy efficient upgrades, and increasing electricity purchase from renewable sources. So with that, thank you.